You're listening to Delayed Replay, the podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe for various reasons, but came out on time in our universe, and therefore come out pretty different for some reason. You might think this is improvised, and well, that's on you. I'm Steven Shinder, and welcome to the show. Airing sometimes every other week, sometimes one week and then the next week. It really depends. Just roll with it. Season 7.
Alright, before we get into the Street Fighter episode, just want to remind people, in case you're listening to this the day of release, that today, Saturday, April 25th, I'm going to be part of an improv show over at Improv Collective. It's another IFL show, so a couple team matches, and that's at 9:30 p.m. is when the show starts. It's in Costa Mesa, California, in Orange County. Doors open at 9 p.m. I highly suggest arriving at 9 p.m. since these IFL shows tend to get crowded. But if you're listening to this after the fact, I want to mention that we have another IFL show that I'm in on Saturday, May 16th. Same time, doors open 9 p.m. Show begins at 9:30, a couple different matches in Improv Collective in Costa Mesa, California. So check out the website improvcollective.fun for more info and upcoming events there. Alright, now on to the show. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we recap and review movies that got delayed in that other universe but came out on time in our universe. I'm your host, Steven Shinder, and for this episode, talking about the new Street Fighter movie, which for us came out here in March 2026 and was distributed by Sony. Apparently in that other universe, it got delayed to October, but it's being distributed by Paramount and contractual stuff and all that. But joining me for this one, it is Mr. Multiverse. How's it going?
Hey, everybody.
Yeah, doing another video game movie episode. So to start off, what's your history with Street Fighter, Mr. Multiverse? Do you like Street Fighter? I don't even know if I've ever asked.
Yeah, I enjoy Street Fighter. It's not one of my favorite fighting games. It is a favorite, but if you were to ask me what my favorite is, it'd be a game series called Soul Calibur. But Street Fighter is a solid classic. I really enjoy a lot of the characters. I really love the universe. And I do have a lot of history with the game. So I also have a lot of history with the original movie and the animated series for all the wrong reasons.
So I'm not so familiar with the older movies or the animated series. So what's the quality like for those?
It depends. Steve. It really does depend on how much liquor are you willing to intake to truly enjoy that movie as well as that animated show. Because yes, that is the same animated show that gives us the meme of yes.
Okay.
Have you ever seen that meme?
If I have, I've forgotten. But I do remember a friend of mine, Ted, I think showed me and a few other friends something that felt like a meme. But I don't know if it was that exact thing. But it was from like I want to say maybe it was an animated Street Fighter movie or maybe the show or something. But yeah, it was something silly.
Look, Street Fighter, okay, the movie from the 80s or 80s, 90s era, that movie is fun bad. But then you have The Legend of Chun-Li, which makes me want to put a gun in my mouth.
Yeah, that one came out in like 2009 or something, right?
Yeah, 2008, 9-ish. I forget that movie. I literally forgot about that movie until like just 2 seconds ago when we were talking about, wait, there was another Street Fighter movie. Oh, we don't talk about that one. It's like Dragon Ball Evolution level bad.
Okay, so like me not having seen that one, but only going off of the poster, is it one of those movies where, despite being based on something like kind of over the top with superpowers, it's like trying to be more grounded and serious or something?
Yeah, that's the problem.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
and that is a symptom, and also it's from people who clearly never played a video game in their life. Like I don't even know where to start with that movie. I mean, at least with Dragon Ball Evolution, there's an attempt to try to, follow the source material. It's a very sad attempt, but here it's like they were embarrassed.
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever heard something somewhat nice about Dragon Ball Evolution.
Oh no! Oh, make no mistake, Steven. Dragon Ball Evolution sucks. But I would watch if I had a gun to my head and someone said either Dragon Ball Evolution or Legend of Chun-Li, which you have to watch one of those two. I would pick Dragon Ball Evolution.
Okay. Well, thankfully we don't have guns to our heads, but yeah, I was reading up on the 1994 Street Fighter film, and apparently what I was reading said that they didn't include certain supernatural elements or whatever from the games because they didn't want to be like how the Mario movie, the live action one the year before, tried putting in game references, which is weird because like that movie it veered so off course from the Super Mario games. It was trying to be like this weird sci-fi thing with like little references to the games. It was such a weird thing. And yeah, apparently the filming of that first Street Fighter movie was also around the same time that the first live action Mortal Kombat movie was being made, and they wanted Jean-Claude Van Damme for that, but he was busy with Street Fighter, so he couldn't do Mortal Kombat as Johnny Cage.
Which is weird because Van Damme actually plays. He's an alternate skin in MK1, so it's kind of in a roundabout way. It all connects. Like time is a flat circle and all that.
Right. Yeah.
The 90s movie of Street Fighter isn't good, but it's entertaining. I mean, what is the actor's name? It's his last movie. The guy who played Gomez. He played Gomez and he plays Bison in the 90s film. He's entertaining, and also Ming-Na Wen. Ming-Na Wen as Chun-Li. I think she's good. But that movie, it's not an Academy Award winner. I couldn't I watched that movie 3 weeks ago. I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Yeah, I get the vibe that Mortal Kombat 1995 is more well liked than Street Fighter 1994. So that checks out.
Yeah, which is insane because I watch Mortal Kombat 90, the 90s Mortal Kombat live action movie, excluding Annihilation, also has its flaws, but there's at least I could tell you about that movie. I could like I said, I watched the Street Fighter movie 3 weeks ago. I forget everything about it, but yeah. Anyway,
right. Well, my history with Street Fighter is basically kind of secondhand. I would see my older brother Alex play it now and then. I think he played it at an arcade, but also might have had something for the Super Nintendo. I don't know. But years later, when I was in high school and he was maybe in his 20s, he and our friends would do little tournaments with the stick consoles and whatnot. You ever play on one of those?
Yeah, I'm never good at them.
Okay. Yeah, I've tried that stick controller and I would only button mash, no strategy whatsoever, and I would just lose that one time that I even tried playing.
Yeah, that's kind of my thing too, but yeah, I'm more adept to a controller, regular controller, I mean.
So in this newer Street Fighter movie, before the movie started, they did that thing where like the director and a couple of the cast members thank the audience for coming to the movies. But during that thing, they also said, when you're done watching this, go and play Street Fighter 6 or whatever on PlayStation 5, whichever one came out on PlayStation 5 a few years back. So just a shameless plug for the PlayStation, I guess.
Which makes no sense because, like, Street Fighter 6 has been out for 2 years.
Yeah, they still want to ride the hype on that.
No, 3 years. Excuse me, 3 years.
Oh, yeah, it came out 2023, yeah. If they didn't even mention any bonus content, they were just like, yeah, go play Street Fighter 6 from 3 years ago.
Yeah, literally, like, I'm like, if you know this movie, if you don't know what Street Fighter is, then why the hell are you here? Also, there was no promotion. Like, oh, we got special skins at the bare minimum. What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, like just skins of like these actors from the movie. But yeah, man, what a weird cross promotion thing that it doesn't feel like they thought all the way through. This puts in like a plethora of characters. Like you got Ken Masters, Ryu, Chun-Li, the big names from the games. So you got all these other people.
Yeah. Can we actually, I'm sorry to interrupt, Steven, but can we talk about how bat insane this cast is?
Yeah. Like you got 50 Cent as Balrog and Jason Momoa as Blanca.
You've got Jason Momoa as Blanca and Orville Peck as Vega. Orville Peck is a pseudo comedy country singer. Yeah. I'm like, I was like, y'all lying. He's Vega, right? Then I looked up, I was like, oh my god. And then you have like a bunch of WWE wrestlers like Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. They're here in several roles. And I'm just like, who is in charge of this cast? I want to know the casting director of this movie, and I don't know whether to slap them or hug them, because like this movie shouldn't work.
Right. Yeah, and this is set in 1993, the story of this particular film, but it does kind of feel like one of those 90s films where they're like, oh, let's get this famous person or this wrestler or whatever to play that character. Like, that back in the day they got Shaq to play the main character in Steel, which ended up being a pretty boring film, but yeah, like that was the type of casting that would happen back in the day.
Yeah, and David Desmelchin as M. Bison. Now, I think Desmelchin's a really great actor. I think he's great, and he would have been great in any other role. He is not Bison. Yeah. There are like casting decisions in here that there are like casting decisions in here where I'm like, what? But anyway, so yeah, the movie, you are right that the movie it's set in 1990s, so it is kind of invoke that whole who's popular and who can we get on for this movie.
They even tried to remind you that this is set in the past. Like they include the Yes song "Owner of a Lonely Heart," which came out in '83, but I guess 10 years later, people would still it would still be on the radio.
Whole scene where Ken is in the bar in time, and he's just to show up, and like runs come into the bar to like try to like kidnap Ken, and he grabs one, throws him. His head goes through the little CD player in the bar, and it starts playing "Owner of Lonely Hearts." And for some reason, why does that song work during a fight scene?
Yeah, it's really weird that it works. And recently, for whatever reason, this song was in that Ed Gein docu-series thing.
I forgot that. I try to forget that Ed Gein thing. That thing, that thing was so wrong. I mean, yeah, the Monster series on Netflix has a lot of inaccuracies, but good God, does the Ed Gein special episodes, they got so many things wrong in the Ed Gein case. And regarding stuff with Toby Hooper and Anthony Hopkins, which I felt kind of offended.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense that they would bring them up, since Ed Gein was an influence on like James Gum and Leatherface and all that. But yeah, it's weird. Like back in high school, I was kind of interested in seeing those types of like true crime type of things, but like now I'm like 31, and the last several years like that type of stuff hasn't really caught my interest. But I see like other friends of mine are like super into like true crime, and so it's like really weird to me that it's like, I don't know, I feel like I outgrew it, but other people are like super into it, so I don't know, it's super weird to me.
Yeah. Like going back to the movie, I think even if you have a problem with this movie one way or another, I would say that this is some of the best fight sequences in a video game movie I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I do like how stylistic and colorful, and like all the different types of like lighting and even neon lighting. Like they're very memorable scenes in here. What'd you think of the outfits for the characters and how they translated in this live action rendition?
There are some that I liked, but then there are others where I'm just like, man, you took some liberties, and others I'm like, that's just his cosplay. Like Roman Reigns as Akuma. Like Roman Reigns is no, not Roman Reigns as Akuma. That one's not good. I'll tell you the one I don't like is Jason Momoa's Blanca. That thing looks like a bad cosplay I saw at MegaCon. Like, did he just not want to sit in the makeup chair? Which if that's the case, that's kind of bullshit, because the dude was Lobo in Supergirl. So did he just not want to do the makeup chair? I mean, I get it's probably a longer process. You signed up for this. The other thing I think is important to note is that when they hit on the costumes, they do a phenomenal job. I mean, as miscast as Desmelchin is, that bison suit is pretty solid. Unfortunately, Desmelchin is not filled out enough and he looks like he's just wearing his dad's clothes to like take your son to work day.
Yeah, like it looks kind of loose, doesn't it?
It looks so loose. I'm like, there are so many other actors you could have picked for this role. Like, I mean, you took how many actors from the WWE? I mean, what could you like? There are like a ton, and I'm not even a wrestling guy, but even I'm like, you took like 3 wrestlers, 4 if we count E Honda, who is played by someone from the Japanese wrestling circuit. I'm like, you could have just picked someone like, I don't know, if you wanted to go full WWE with this, just take Triple H and make him M. Bison.
Not being super familiar with the mythology of Street Fighter, one detail I was kind of confused about was, like, is the World Warrior tournament here something that many people know about, or is it like something secret? Because I assumed that they set this in 1993, so that would be pre-cell phones, and people wouldn't have to like worry about that sort of thing.
Well, initially they kind of banty in a lot of the other games, but initially it was meant to be like kind of secret. But in like I think by Street Fighter 2 they did away with that, and it's kind of a global thing. But yeah, people know about it by Street Fighter 2. But initially it was meant to be like kind of secret. Here they just kind of treat it like, yeah, this is a major tournament. But at the same time, I'm also like, so why are you trying to hide the fights in some of them?
Yeah, like you have these fights happening in like alleyways and stuff when it's like super dark. So yeah, that's why it was kind of confusing to me here.
Yeah, I will also say, and I will say this right now. I didn't hate this movie. I don't think it's good, but it's way more entertaining than I gave it credit. Like, I think there are some things story-wise that don't make sense, and also I think there's some pacing issues, but like it's entertaining and like there's kind of heart here. It's also crazy to note, and I don't know if you know this, Steven, but originally this was supposed to be directed by the Philippa brothers. You know, they got Raka Raka, the guys who did Talk to Me and Bring Her Back.
Oh wow, that's pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah, they were initially supposed to be doing this movie, and I do wonder if they kept some of the script that they wrote for this.
Yeah, because there are moments where, like during super intense parts of the fight sequences, you'd hear like a bit of music that feels very horror-esque, and so it's like that's the music. How did that still like stay in here? Were they still trying to see if they could like add the horror tag onto this, but then realized that they kind of couldn't, the makeup on so the character's not looking as horrific enough. So yeah, it was kind of a weird thing that sort of leaked into this one.
Clearly makes some subtle references throughout the movie to some other fighting games like Rival School and Fatal Fury, and also Darkstalkers, which is another famous Capcom fighting game series. But instead of like warriors, it's monsters.
What'd you think of the Mortal Kombat comment in this movie?
Dan and Chun-Li are fighting Vega, and they dual kick him into an arcade console, and he goes crashing headfirst into Mortal Kombat. And they're like, "Don't worry, it wasn't a good game to begin with."
Yeah. Okay, so this exists as a game in that universe, but that also exists as a game in that other universe, and it feels like a snake eating its own tail in a way.
Yeah. I will also say that some of the fight sequences in this movie, they definitely feel like a movie I recently watched called They Will Kill You. I don't know if the fight choreographer was from that movie was on this one. Side note, I think, Steven, you'd like it. I think you'd like They Will Kill You.
Yeah, I think I heard about it like just yesterday, and yeah, it sounds like actually I think I saw the trailer for this in front of a movie I saw recently. But yeah, it did look interesting. Actually, earlier today, I watched, what was it called? Mike and Nick and Alice, and that had some action in it, but I don't know. I was just kind of overall bored with the way that it sort of played out and the story of that one. But yeah, I'm sure They Will Kill You is probably better than that film.
Yeah. After a string of like bad movies I've been watching, that was a nice breath of fresh air. But getting back to this movie, I do appreciate that, like, much like this is kind of globe spanning, and they do reference that, like, hey, rather than it's kind of a loose plot as to why these characters go to these different places, it's like, no, these are where the tournament fights are being held. You got to go to these places. So I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's not like a loose plot. It's not like loosely saying like, oh, we got to go to this place, or now we're magically in this place. I'm glad they actually take the time to explain, like, hey, this is why we're doing a globe-spanning movie, is because this tournament is international. So you have to go to where these places are, and in a certain amount of time, too.
Yeah, and that adds a bit more to the challenges because it feels like the feats of strength kind of also involve having to like hike up this mountain type of thing. So it's like once you get to the top and have to like do the fight, it's like, okay, you got kind of worn out by the hike up here. Are you still able to survive this fight? And so that did add an extra layer to that whole thing.
Yeah. Who would you say was your favorite, like, character to follow in this movie?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because, like I said, I'm not as super familiar with the characters as other people are, but this is gonna sound, I don't know, maybe kind of bland and normy, but I was really invested in like following Ken in this one.
Yeah. I mean, like, Ryu is the main character of this series alongside Chun-Li, but Ken is definitely the most fun.
Yeah, like he adds something. Like even though Ryu is the main character, like I don't know, Ken kind of adds like a weird down to earthness that kind of works here.
Yeah. For me, I would say Guile, played by Cody Rhodes. I think he's definitely leaning into this is a video game movie. Like, how he delivers dialogue is just absolute cheese, and it's clear on purpose. It's not like he's bad at acting. It's more like, I know what movie I'm in, so I'm gonna play up to that strength.
Yeah, dialogue, one might say.
Oh, get out. Get out. Stop this thing, like, right now. That was awful.
Right. I also thought it was, Eric Andre as Don. How's his last name pronounced? Is it Savage or Savage or
Savage? That's how I pronounce it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like I've seen him in like some comedic things like Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 and other things. So I was kind of surprised when I saw him in this movie of all movies, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of playing himself, though. I know he plays like, Don Savage. He's going to be scary and like terrifying. No, he gets slapped every like when he's like trying to do a villain monologue. He gets punched in the mouth. He's like, "Damn, come on, man. Let me do. I've been building that monologue like for 2 days. Can I just?" And then he gets punched again. Okay, damn.
Yeah, and with him in this villainous role, they do this kind of goofy thing where he has this device that looks very much like a Street Fighter stick controller, and like the device is able to like control one of the fighters, and so it's like he's controlling the fighter, and I'm sitting here thinking, come on guys, you don't need to get this meta with it. Like, why you gotta do this?
Yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like some of the meta commentary was just kind of a lot of the meta commentary on the game and also leaning into it. Look, I get it. This movie's trying to have fun, but like at some point you just got to stop and go, okay, guys, let's be serious for a second.
Yeah, there's like a little bit too much of the "he's right behind me, isn't he" type of humor.
Yeah, I think that's what kills a lot a lot of like Bison is supposed to be like a big terrifying threat, but like in the middle of explaining his evil plan, he's basically like cut off, and then he's like, "No, stop interrupting me," and it's a back and forth that I'm just like goes on too long.
Yeah, like I could do without that. I feel like if he cut some of that out, this is a slightly better movie. There's also 50 Cent as Balrog. There's a moment where like he's like about to like fight someone, and he says the line, "Fly, you fools," and that's like supposed to be a reference of like Gandalf and the Balrog from Lord of the Rings, which I don't know. I heard one guy in my theater cheer, but I was like, I don't know.
Yeah. There's even a moment, and I don't know if you've seen this meme, where Balrog is fighting, as some little guy is like trying to test Balrog, and he just uppercuts the guy, and then the whole movie stops in slow motion, and you just hear, "That brother's floating in the air. How can his hands do this? Oh, someone get him out the air."
In that moment, I was like, "Is this a reference to something?" I just
there's a meme of like some little guy going, better like, "I'm gonna scramble you like an omelet," and then the other guy uppercuts him and it's slow-mos because the guy's like literally got launched into the air and he's like just falling backwards and everyone's just in shock of it. I'll send you the video if I can to give you like reference.
Okay. But yeah, so like this movie sort of began with like the typical beats you would get from a hero's journey type of thing with Ryu, and it feels introspective with him at first. But then as he gets involved with like this wider world with all these other characters, it kind of feels to me like the movie gets bogged down, like trying to like change perspectives and show all these other different characters. But I don't know. How did it feel for you?
Sometimes it got a little distracting because I'm like, I get it, guys, you're having fun, but like we're trying to tell a movie here. I sometimes feel like the movie just wants so badly to be like, "Hey, we're having fun here. You don't have to take us seriously." I'm like, yeah, I know Street Fighter's kind of goofy, but there are serious points to that storyline.
Somewhere along the way, as they're like traveling and globetrotting or whatever, they come across a goat herder, and the goats make these like really annoying sounds. And I'm like, this is an old internet joke by this point. You don't need to keep doing this type of thing with goats.
I like this movie, and I think it could have been perfect, but I think there needed to be like someone cutting out some of the jokes.
Yeah, I get the impression that they probably felt that if there weren't enough jokes, then this would risk becoming a more obscure movie and like not bring in as much of a crowd. Like you let audiences go and see this, and maybe some of them will be like, "Oh, the movie was so funny, you gotta see it," and depend on that word of mouth. Which I don't know how well that's working. It's kind of tough to say at the moment, but yeah, I'm just like over that trend,
Yeah, everyone's trying to be the MCU when in this day and age, maybe that's not a good idea.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, and this was distributed by Sony in our universe. So I don't put it past them to like try hard to like be like that. And there's even like some Sony product placement. Like you got these Sony cameras and TVs like throughout the movie, which got distracting to me, honestly.
Yeah. So, is it just me, or do you feel like this movie was meant to be longer?
Yeah, it did feel kind of rushed because the fights happen. Some of them are kind of relegated to a montage sequence, and like you see like these characters who look like a big deal, but they're like kind of whizzing by, and it's like, wait, why aren't we spending more time with them? And then you get to like the closing match, which does get a bit more screen time than a lot of the other matches. But at that point, I'm like, looking at the time on my phone, and I'm like, wait, we're already close to the end. What happened here? And again, they're doing like the type of movie humor that we kind of see, throwing in the Whitney Houston song "And I Will Always Love You" during like an epic moment or whatever. And it's like, yeah, like I kind of think maybe they cut out like a half hour from this movie just to make it seem less of a commitment for people to go out and to the theater and see this thing.
Yeah, I also feel like the movie had a shorter like theater screen time and that's probably more on the distribution group than the movie itself.
Yeah, because I remember hearing reports that like it's gonna be streaming sooner than you would expect. Like there have been reports that the window's pretty short, but yeah, it kind of feels like they were trying to position this movie to have a good turnout, but then like sort of backed out, and we're like, okay, we're not gonna have as much faith in this movie, and then it's just what it is at the moment.
Yeah. So I guess like outside of like the fight sequences, which I think were very well choreographed, I think there is even though the cast is all over the place, I think the characters are pretty balanced. Like everyone gets some solid screen time.
Yeah, like everyone gets at least one move, and I do kind of get the impression that those certain moments like of physicality are like so quick and brief so that they can be into clips to share around on the internet to get people more interested in seeing them, on like if they see the clip on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. The film is also, there's no shaky cam in the fights. So I appreciate, some good cinematography, not just with fight sequences. There are some just really good, well shot scenes, and also the set designs really do feel like the stages from the video game.
Yeah, I do appreciate the lack of shaky cam as well, because that can really make me kind of less invested and make me more likely to rate a movie even lower, because I get tired of seeing those types of sequences with the shaky cam.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I also think that there are, like, some of the dialogue is corny, but also I think there is some. I have to remind myself this movie's not taking itself seriously.
Right. Yeah, and me not being familiar with the Street Fighter, I almost said Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter storylines from the games. Like, I have no idea like how serious the storylines are. So I was kind of watching this movie being like, okay, I guess this is what Street Fighter is, or what people generally think Street Fighter is. So again, it felt like I was kind of sitting there in the unknown, like basically just push myself into the pool and just let it wash over me.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel, honestly.
Yeah. So what'd you think of the way that the tournament ended here?
Um, how it ended with everyone just fighting everybody, it's kind of an interesting turn of events, because I'm like, okay, we just wanted to do a big fight scene at the end, but at least everyone's using their powers. Also, I do appreciate that people are just using powers and there's no explanation. Like, that was my problem with the Mortal Kombat movies, where I was like, I don't need an explanation as to why they have powers. They just do.
Yeah.
So I'm glad in here they're like I think someone does bring it up. I think Dan brings it up to Guile. He's like, hey, how can you like do Sonic Boom? You're not like trained like Ryu is. And he's just like, I just go Sonic Boom. And I'm like, yeah. That's
yeah, that's really funny, because it reminds me of how live action superhero movies feel like they have to justify how the heroes got their powers. Of course, part of that is like in the comics, in X-Men, they explain like, oh, mutation, Spider-Man, Iron Man, all that stuff. They try to explain how they get their abilities and powers. Whereas in The Incredibles, we don't know how any of those heroes got their powers, and we're just so invested in the story because we enjoy the characters and their dynamics and all that. So, I mean, that's proof right there that you don't always have to explain how the powers came to be.
Yeah. So I appreciate that. Going back to the final scene, and I appreciate also they're using all the moves, like Bison does his drill attack. I also appreciate that everyone has their specific fighting style being used all like throughout this fight, and it's all to stop Bison's grand plan, which I kind of feel is like a little odd, because I'm like, since when did Bison start collecting DNA of fighters to make a single fighter? I mean, yes, there is a character from Shadaloo, but that was after Bison got kicked out of Shadaloo. That character's name was Seth. He was made from like the DNA of all these different fighters. It was a whole thing.
Is that where X-Men Origins got the idea for what the hell they did with Deadpool in that movie?
No, that was a lot of cocaine in the writer's room. But yeah, I appreciate that, at least, that like, oh, we're you hit another character after this weird cockamamie plan. I'm like, I should have seen that coming, but I do appreciate that, like, oh, we're tying in the stupid plot with the creation of another character, with a character from one of the later games.
Yeah, and this all-out fight, it did kind of feel to me like they were trying to do like their own end game type of thing, Avengers Endgame, with that type of fight with just everyone. It was kind of cool, but I didn't have like the same emotional investment, because this is the first movie. It's not really a culmination of things, and I'm not as super familiar with the characters from the games.
I think that if you are a fan, you are going to appreciate the little things. Like, I also like that we get the "of course" meme used.
Right. Right. Well, there is the scene, like the mid-credit scene, where it says like, 1 year later or a year and a half later or something. And
Oh yeah.
it's like late 1994, and a couple of the characters are attending a screening of the 1994 Street Fighter movie, and they're like, wow, they got so much wrong about what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say then there's the second after credit scene that kind of hypes up Darkstalkers, and I'm like, what who are you going to have for that movie? Are you going to have, like, I don't know, Adam Sandler as John Talbane? I know that character makes means nothing to you, but to me it's like, yeah, after the insanity of this cast, I can only imagine what they get for a Darkstalkers movie.
Yeah, we'll have to see if they do like follow through with that, depending on like the box office and whatnot. Yeah, I guess we could go into final thoughts, score out of 10, and unit of measurement for that score. So have at it, Mr. Multiverse.
At the end of the day, this movie has a lot of flaws, but I think it has fun with itself. And and if you can be an entertaining movie to me, I think that's enough for me. So I forget, is it out of 5 or out of 10?
Out of 10. Although I did see a friend of mine rate movies out of 8 and 6 and 9 and be like, you could do whatever you want. So, which I thought was funny, but yeah, you could like do out of 10.
At the end of the day, this movie, it knows what it is, and I can't fault it for it. I think if we get a sequel, this will be cleaned up. This movie could get some major cleanup in a sequel movie. So I'm going to give it 7.5. 7.5 David Dismelchin miscasts out of 10. I couldn't think of a better one. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that works. Again, I'm not as super familiar with these characters. Certain moments were pretty fun, but I kind of would have liked a bit more in terms of plot and emotional introspection and character development and stuff like that, even though I know that this is maybe not that type of movie. It's those other elements I just mentioned that make me more invested in these types of fighting movies. But I will say that I think this is still a movie that you could put on maybe even in the background of a party, or you could have friends over and like maybe do a drinking game and have some laughs while watching this movie. So it could still be fun in that sense. So I'm going to give this Street Fighter Toy 6 movie 6 out of 10 Street Fighter stick consoles.
Okay.
All right. So I guess that's it for the Street Fighter discussion. Thanks for joining me again, Mr. Multiverse. Where can people find what you're up to?
They can find me on YouTube and the podcast that this gentleman here has joined me on twice, called The Monsters We Make. Basically a parody true crime podcast taking movies and making them as treating them as true crime stories. Yeah, go check that out, as well as my 2 short stories, Duel of the Monsters. It's a monster fight anthology series. So yeah, go check those out. I'd appreciate it.
That Monsters We Make series is fun challenge to do, because it's like we're trying to like be serious while doing that and recapping events from like famous horror movies and stuff. So yeah, people definitely check that out. It's an interesting exercise there, and I'll link all of these things in the show notes and whatnot. But yeah, thanks again, man.
No problem.
All right, so that'll be it for this Street Fighter discussion. This show will be back with a different topic next time, so without further delay, have a good day. All right, now before I get to the plugs, just a reminder, if you're listening to this on April 25th, check out, if you're in the area, like near Orange County, Costa Mesa specifically, go to Improv Collective and check out the IFL show I'm in with Huntington Beach Boys. Doors open at 9 p.m. Go to improvcollective.fun online in order to check out the info if you want. Again, the website is improvcollective.fun. And if you missed that show, check out the one that's happening Saturday, May 16th. Same place, same time, and same day as the next episode of Delayed Replay, which will be the 6th anniversary episode and the 200th episode. And the topic for that will be Flowervale Street. So yeah, going from Street Fighter to Flowervale Street. Couple street episodes. So there's that. And you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Let us know your thoughts on whether you prefer Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. You can also follow me at the socials listed in the show notes and check out any other links that I put there. And find me on Yes Shift, a podcast/vlog that I do with my dad about the band Yes and prog rock. Recently interviewed Oliver Wakeman about the reissued expanded edition of the Yes album From a Page, and it's really great the way that it came out, that album. There will be an episode about that and about Yes's Union album coming up and all sorts of great stuff. So check that out, and StephenShinder.com for info on my standalones and stepping stones novels. Would really appreciate people reading and reviewing those. So yeah, really appreciate any support I may get. Alright, so that's it from me, and without further delay, here's my other self to talk about what he's been watching, like Malcolm in the Middle, Life's Still Unfair, and some other stuff. Alright, hey everyone, this is Steven from that other universe, and non-spoiler thoughts on some TV and movies I've watched in the few weeks since I came on for one of these, the previous episode. So, over on the YouTube channel, Steven Shinder Reviews in video form, you can check out my couple of videos I've put out for Malcolm in the Middle, Life's Still Unfair, the revival mini-series. I hesitate to call it a revival because it's a one and done type of reunion thing and not really an ongoing series type of thing. But yeah, I put out a video that was predictions basically hours before the 4 episodes dropped, and then after watching the 4 episodes, I put up a review that's mostly non-spoiler. It's non-spoiler for most of the video, and then I say when there are spoilers. But overall, the show was enjoyable. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10, and if you watch the video, you can see why. But basically, it felt kind of like a bit softer than the tone of the original show, and I enjoyed seeing all the characters again, although I feel like a couple of them could have had more going on for them, and it felt like screen time was kind of misplaced, like went on longer for a certain HAL-related sequence. But overall, it was enjoyable. It kind of boggles my mind when I hear anyone say, wow, this was terrible, this is the worst thing ever, and I'm like, really? Out of all the things that exist out there, I watched the Bunny Man trilogy of really terrible slasher movies a few weeks ago, and yeah, you could check out my Letterboxd reviews of those movies in depth over at Rotten Tomato. But yeah, those movies were so awful, they're so bad. And at first, like for the first one, which was like the Grindhouse edition, the re-release of a re-edited version, it was kind of bad in a funny way, but then the other two, Bunny Man Massacre and Bunny Man Vengeance, were just, they had just awful stuff going for them. But yeah, check out my Letterboxd reviews of those. And I really enjoyed the new characters on Malcolm in the Middle, Life's Still Unfair. Particularly, I feel like the strongest were probably Malcolm's daughter Leah, and the new sibling who was sort of hinted at in the series finale of Malcolm in the Middle, Kelly, who's a non-binary sibling. A really great character, and there are those people out there who are so close-minded and just won't watch the show because of this character, which I think is really silly that they won't because of that reason. Yeah, people are just really mean still, I guess. But as for other shows I've been watching, and then I'll kind of pick out a few things for my Letterboxd, like movies I've seen, which I'll highlight for a little bit, because I've watched a lot, and there are only like maybe a few that I really want to kind of spotlight or whatever. So I've been keeping up with Star Wars Maul Shadow Lord, and this is a show where it's 6 episodes in. There are gonna be 10 total. It's animated. It seems to take place, I don't know, maybe a year after Revenge of the Sith. And we get to see more of Maul working with the underworld type stuff over on Coruscant. And I kind of wish I did not know his trajectory later in the timeline after this. I feel like this is a show I would enjoy more if I'd watched it years and years ago. But I'm still liking what I'm seeing. There are a few new characters that I guess I'm kind of growing fond of. I'm invested in, I guess would be the better word for it. But yeah, I am curious to see how this season concludes. I know that it got renewed for a second season, which I suspect it'll stay within the same time frame, same part of this timeline, when really I would really love to see what happens after Solo, a Star Wars story, and before Star Wars Rebels. Like, that's the main thing I really want to see. But it does feel like with one of the characters, the Twi'lek character, that they're maybe kind of giving a tip of the hat to George Lucas's original idea. I say original in air quotes, of getting Darth Talon from the Star Wars Legacy comics, which take place way in the future of Star Wars and Star Wars Legends, and having her team up with Maul, and that's what he supposedly would have wanted to have in the sequel trilogy. That was part of his ideas for that. And I'm not really sure that this Twi'lek character will actually become Darth Talon. Darth Talon was kind of a one-note character in a way, kind of a temptress, although I guess the way that she spoke, I've seen it compared a bit to how Maul speaks, but I feel like this could be a somewhat different character, kind of like how Quinlan Vos in the Clone Wars is pretty different from Quinlan Vos in Star Wars Legends. But yeah, I guess we'll have to see how this goes and how I end up feeling about it. Also been watching the second season of Daredevil Born Again. It's been pretty good. Sometimes I feel like I don't have as much of the investment that I do when I watched the original Netflix series, but there have been legitimately good moments this season. Pretty heavy hitting, and yeah, I really don't know what to say that wouldn't spoil things. So I'll just say, if you're into Daredevil and the show, like, go ahead and watch it. Let's see what else. I haven't watched season 4 of Invincible yet, even though I want to. I've been kind of busy. I recently went on a trip with my brother to Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas for a company event that he got invited to. It was a great trip. We got to hang out with a dolphin. We got to eat a lot of great food. There's even a water park section, and aquarium. Is a really great break from everything. But yeah, I still got some catching up to do with certain shows and things. But I am caught up on Rooster on HBO, the Steve Carell show I've talked about on here before, where he's teaching at a college, and his daughter, who also works there is dealing with her husband having had an affair and him dealing with the consequences of that. So there's some interesting things going on in this show. I really enjoy it. But surprisingly, I've been enjoying the comeback season 3 a bit more than Rooster. You know, I enjoyed the first 2 seasons of the comeback, but this season and the way that it's sort of having the characters grapple with the, you know, the whole thing of AI taking over writing duties for television and stuff, and the reactions to that. Like, this show has been feeling the most like event television to me out of the current shows I've been watching, which is kind of surprising to me. So I'm very curious to see how this show concludes. I think there might be 3 episodes left, if I remember correctly. But yeah, really interesting stuff. Now, in terms of movies, I checked out Pizza Movie, which was it was released on Hulu. I guess it's made by a couple YouTubers I'm not so familiar with. The humor was good for a bit of it, but then it started feeling super repetitive. These college students, they discover this drug and they're basically tripping, and they need to get pizza in order to, you know, remedy the whole thing. But for a movie called Pizza Movie, you don't really see pizza all that much. And yeah, I get that it's the driving force, basically. But yeah, some of the gags felt like they went on for too long. And then there's a meta moment later, like way later, that I thought was a bit too much. But yeah, I guess I'd give it a 6 out of 10, maybe 6.5. I don't know. I could maybe go up a little bit, but yeah, I'm sure other people enjoyed it more than I did, though. Let's see what else I have seen that I want to mention. Oh, I watched Is This Thing On? Will Arnett and Laura Dern play a couple that's separating, and then Will Arnett's character joins this comedy club where he starts doing stand-up, and we see how that affects him and the dynamics in his relationships, and it's a really good movie. I give that one an 8 out of 10. Possibly would make a good double feature watching that and then Punchline, that 80s movie with Tom Hanks and Sally Field. They're both about stand-up comedy. Let's see, I watched this pirate movie that was on Prime called The Bluff. It's pretty forgettable, maybe 5 out of 10 at best. I didn't like the lighting either. It's not really worth it, in my opinion. I recently watched Sick, which I heard about on a podcast. It's a slasher movie that takes place in the early 2020s, and yeah, COVID is mentioned and is kind of an important plot thread. It was really well done, but when the motivations get revealed, even though they're understandable, they sound really goofy the way that they're revealed. Maybe because of, you know, us in my universe having gone through that whole pandemic thing, and it just, yeah, I don't know what they could have done to make it feel a little less goofy to me. I think I'd give it a 7, maybe 7.5 out of 10. I still think it's worth watching. I watched, what else? Anaconda. This was an airplane watch on the way to the Bahamas. I give it I thought the first 2/3 were pretty solid, but then the third act went off the rails, and they even mentioned how the third acts of movies are written like on the spot. So yeah, I give this one a 6 out of 10. I've never seen any Anaconda movie. I was enjoying seeing the characters try to make their own, but then there were some things that happened that were pretty cringe, and so that's why I don't rate it that highly. Out of the movies that involve Jack Black making a film that's like a remake or adaptation, or King Kong 2005, Be Kind, Rewind, Tropic Thunder. This is my least favorite of those. I also watched on the airplane back, I watched the SpongeBob movie Search for SquarePants, and that was pretty bad. It was better than the Sandy Cheeks movie, but still below the Plankton movie. I give it a 5 out of 10. There's a little bit of visual continuity stuff that bothered me, but also it feels like it's basically the same arc as the first SpongeBob movie, SpongeBob trying to prove how grown up he is, but it's not quite on the same level. And it's it also feels like every SpongeBob movie has to have a moment where they go to the surface world, and it's like, I don't know why they do that. They need to take a break from making SpongeBob movies in general, I think, and really figure out how to make something better. Although these probably do well anyway, so maybe they don't take that much time. I rewatched the live-action Scooby-Doo movie from 2002. That was a bit better. I think I kind of went down on it from the last time I watched it. I think last time I gave it a 7. This time it's more of a 6. I kind of did a poll where I asked people, do you feel this is a good movie, a bad movie, or guilty pleasure? And this was on Threads, I did this poll. Out of the 23 people who voted, 39% said good, 35% said guilty, 26% said bad. So I think I can assume that people who watch it, about a third of them would have each of these perspectives, if that makes sense, evenly split more or less. But yeah, I'm still not into what the movie did with Scrappy, and some of the adult humor feels out of place, but the casting is really good. And my last couple airplane watches on that ride back were American Fiction. This came out in 2023. Jeffrey Wright plays an author who how do I explain this? He kind of tries to make a point by writing a book that's what people expect from Black authors that would be commercially successful, and he basically makes it as a joke. It's nothing serious, and it's not well thought out, and ends up being successful with it. And it's a really well acted, well done satire. I give it an 8 out of 10. I do think the ending is where it loses me a little bit. Like, if it had stopped at a certain point, I might have liked it a bit better, but I get the point that was being made. And basically finished the airplane watches with Office Space. That one's a classic, 8 out of 10. Funny movie, workplace comedy. For Earth Day, I watched Orangutan on Disney+. It was okay. I gave it a 6. It felt like because it's Disney, they felt the need to put in a song from the Jungle Book. But yeah, that's I guess that's all that I really want to talk about. There's other stuff I've watched, but you can just go to my Letterboxd at Rotten Tomato. I guess that's it for now. Remember, keep your calendar, what's the word? Keep your eye on the calendar. Saturday, May 16th, the next episode of Delayed Replay, the 6th anniversary episode, the 200th episode, and it'll be about Flowervale Street, which is called The End of Oak Street over in my universe. But yeah, anywho, that'll come out that day, and then later that day, the improv show that I'm in at Improv Collective. It's an IFL show, and I'm with Huntington Beach Boys, so check that out. Go to improvcollective.fun. Doors open at 9 p.m. for that show. It's in Costa Mesa, California. So yeah, lots of great stuff. Thanks for tuning in, and without further delay, have a good day.